Hello, everybody. This is Matthew Brand. Welcome to the Amethyst Podcast. And today I'm continuing my Avatar and the Last Airbender in the Tarot series, where I compare characters in the Avatar The Last Airbender to the major arcana of the Tarot, specifically the Rider Waite deck for the most part. And the reason I do this is for one, character building to kind of explain story tropes, but also to kind of explain tarot cards and how they may relate to a stage in whatever particular journey you're taking at the moment. Now, I'm not Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards, draw a few cards and, relate, think this is just magically what you draw is going to relate to you. But sometimes, depending on what particular journey we may be on at the moment, these are all stages of any type of journey. That's what these cards are. And mentally and emotionally, it can help explain where you may be stuck. And all to me is just like a picture psychology book. They fit these different archetypes, and that's why a lot of characters and stories ring so true to us. And because Avatar is one of the better stories ever written, I think the characters in that story fit so well with these major arcana, whether it was intentional or not. Now, today's card is going to be the Lover's card, and I'm going to tie it to the character Zuko. I think he really, really fits this card very well. Now, some people may wonder, how does that fit with love? And to be honest, the Lover's card doesn't necessarily mean love. I know a lot of people read it that way, when they're doing tarot for, magically drawing cards, because love is something that's important to a lot of us. So it's easy to tie it to that. But really, the Lovers, if you look at a card older than a tarot deck, is a man split between two lovers. What you'll see is there's a man in the middle, and on the right hand side is a woman who has flowers on her head like a maiden, and then on the left hand side is a woman with a headscarf, kind of representing she might be married, or older or something like that. And she's got her hand on his shoulder, kind of tempting him away from the maiden. And there's a cupid above his head pointing at him, and his eyes are focused on the married woman. And the cupid is blindfolded. But the Rider Waite deck has just a man and a woman and an angel in it. Maybe kind of like the Cupid, but I don't really think it applies the same way. However, the man has flames on a tree behind him. The woman has the forbidden tree with the snake on it behind her. He's focused on her, or perhaps her bosom, and she's focused on the angel with the sun above. Now, what it kind of represents is the choices that you make. You have a choice to make, right? A choice of what to focus on, and your focus may be on the wrong thing. And if you're familiar with the character Zuko, that really applies to him. Zuko, and the spoiler for a show is very old, but Zuko is focused on capturing the Avatar because he's trying to impress his father. He wants the love of his father. And his focus is on the wrong thing. And it shows throughout the show, Zuko's not a slouch, but he's not the force of nature that the rest of his family is, because for years he's been focused on getting his father's approval, right? Ever since his father burnt half his face off, for some reason, he wants to get back in his father's good graces. And his mentor is even asking him, like, is this a destiny that you really think you have? Or is this something that was forced upon you? Like, is this a destiny that's forced upon you? Kind of like the Cupid in the air shooting him. Is this something, just influenced by your emotions? Are your emotions not really as rational as they should be? In all reality, on the Lover's card, these 12 flames you'll see behind the man representing the months of the year also shows, what's important to him throughout the year. All these flames are above, and then you have this little flame underneath. When Zuko finally decides to join the Avatar, and he gives up on what he's been driving him all these years, or all this time, what you'll notice is that he doesn't have the power to produce the flames that he used to. Flames are Zuko's power, but the source of his power is his passion, and that's what the flames behind him ties to. He doesn't have as much passion as he did once he's given up on his goal. He doesn't really know what to do with himself anymore. He's done. This happens to a lot of people when they're obsessed with college, or they're obsessed with school, or obsessed with a job, or obsessed with a woman. They get what they've been wanting this entire time, and after that, the passion in them, the thing they've been striving for, kind of puts a damper on the flames that's been driving. They've got it. What now? Right? Life moves on. There's more to it than that. But again, that's where the misplaced focus sometimes happens. He's focused on this woman when he really should be focused on the paragon, perhaps the angel above him, the sun above him, the becoming a better man. Sometimes you have that saying, if you want the right woman, instead of trying to how should I put it, find the right woman, you should try to be the right man. And that's what Zuko had a hard time coming to terms with. He never really needed his father's approval. His father was never really one that should have. This actually also happens with a lot of the firebenders in the show. Zuko's uncle wanted to capture a city, but once he lost his son, he realized, that's not as important as he thought it was. Then he goes on a journey and understands more about life after he finds these dragons and is hinted to throughout the story. Iroh is one of the most powerful firebenders there are in the show, but he just doesn't care most of the time for the conquest. He's just there to support Zuko. Zuko's sister Azula, again with this fiery passion for getting her father's approval and having perfection, she reaches it. She reaches the spot she always wanted. She actually becomes in position to become the Fire Lord, while her father is going to become the Emperor, and she loses her mind. She doesn't know what to do anymore. So this is a common trope in the show. These people, even Zuko's grandfather, I believe the original Fire Lord, I forget his name at the moment, he wanted to bring prosperity to his nation and technological advancement, and he does so. But after he does it, he doesn't know what to do himself anymore, so he basically loses his mind and decides to take over the world. None of these, in any capacity, really makes sense when you think about it. There's no reason for him to take over the world. There's no reason for Azula to lose her mind. There's no reason for Zuko to just, sputter out in his passions. But when all of your passions are focused on this one thing, it's an obsession. And it's an unhealthy obsession. But sometimes our unhealthy obsessions aren't really all that logical. And this is where the Lover's card comes into play. Now, if that's you, right, if you feel like you're at a position where you seem like your obsession is taking forefront, and sometimes that's people's advice to people. Like they say, yeah, you got to be obsessed to be the best, right? You got to strive and, throw everything away. Forget about your family, forget about your, life, forget about your kids, forget about all these passions. And eventually you hit a roadblock where it's like, hey, it's not as important as I think it is. And then you fall into this pit. Now, the Lover's card is not that pit. It's not that, but it may show that depending on where you put your focus on, you can end up in that pit. And that's what that Garden of Eden behind the woman is. Now, Zuko eventually makes the right decision, but the wrong decision that he made initially did have lasting consequences. And it's something to think about. This is something very often read with this card. So make your choices carefully with the passions and love that you have, and think about where it leads to. Are you being tempted in the wrong direction? Are you making the wrong choice because of, something tempting you? Honestly, I'm going to say media is something that does this a lot with us. If you really think about it, media has a good way of making us think that our decisions, these are our decisions because of, you see it often enough. How could all the people be wrong? How could all this be wrong? You keep hearing these over and over and over. I don't want to say talking points or propaganda, but this influence in our ear. And especially when we're thinking on emotion and more emotionally, it seems to justify bad actions, right? And instead of being better people, we're focused on our whatever pleasure or passion or emotion we have at the moment without thinking of the long-term consequences. Try to look in the future and look towards the paragon, like being the better person and letting the things that you really want, the things that you're emotionally invested in, come to you. Some people put it, put it as, screw blank, get money. But really, it's not about the money, it's about bettering yourself. But it's rarely put that way. Being focused on money can be the exact same thing, right? Oh, you become a slave to money, all you think about is getting money. And then sometimes you're not even questioning what you're spending the money on. Sometimes you're overly focused on status, and then all your money goes towards that. One thing I know you can do, if you're questioning whether you're doing this or not, look at your bank account and see where a lot of your money is going. Right? If you use a debit card or something like that often, go check that. Look at how you've been spending the last 2 months and see where a good chunk of where your spending goes. And it can tell you, hey, you may be making the wrong decisions. Is it spent towards making you better or not? And sometimes when it's spent towards making you better, sometimes you're obsessed over the short term or over a like immediate goal. For example, you may be focused on finishing college or doing really great with a job or getting a particular job or accomplishing a more artistic job. Like, hey, I want to, become a famous painter, or I want to get a certain amount of fame on YouTube or something like that. And then you get it, and then you don't know what to do afterwards. Have you looked at what you feel like, oh, once I get this job, I'll be complete, or once I get this, I'll be complete. Once I have this, I'll be where I need to be. But sometimes that's not the end of it. And if that's as far as you're seeing, maybe that may be where you need to look further, right? Look towards a higher situation, like in the card, to get a better understanding of where you should be working for the long term. Anyway, that was the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, give me a like. If you have any commentary, I'd appreciate that. Other than that, God bless you. I hope you have a great day.